You know, it's a strange thing. Most people don't realize they're speaking themselves into poverty long before their bank account shows it. The words we choose, the phrases we repeat, the way we describe our circumstances, these aren't just sounds. They're scripts. Scripts that train the mind to either build wealth or defend lack. Let me ask you, what do you say when the bill comes due? When opportunity knocks? When someone mentions investing or starting a business? Your words don't just describe your world, they shape it. The mouth is a mirror of the mind, and if your language is filled with limitation, doubt, and fear, your life will follow suit. You can't think rich while speaking poor. See, wealthy people talk about possibilities. Poor thinkers talk about problems. The wealthy ask, how can I make it happen? The broke-minded say, I can't afford it. One opens the door to solutions. The other slams it shut. And what you say long enough, you start to believe. And what you believe, you begin to live. We're not just talking vocabulary here. We're talking about the architecture of your future. Because if you want to rise, you've got to start with what flows from your lips. Speak growth. Speak responsibility. Speak vision. And your mind will start to rewire itself to match. Your life is always moving in the direction of your most dominant conversation. So if your words have been keeping you small, it's time to change the script. Think like the rich, speak like the wealthy, or stay where you are. The choice, my friend, is in every word you speak and every belief you build behind it. Let me tell you something I learned early in my journey. If it feels too exciting, it's probably not wealth, it's probably a distraction. Real wealth, the kind that sticks, is built on boring, predictable, consistent habits. That's right. The glamorous life you dream of, it's hidden behind a life of simple disciplines repeated every single day. Most people miss this. They're always looking for the thrill, the hot stock tip, the overnight win. But that's not wealth, that's a gamble. And gamblers lose far more often than they win. When I was broke, I thought money was supposed to feel exciting. I wanted to feel like something big was happening every day. But what I learned from the wealthy was this. The most financially successful people I ever met had the most boring routines. They tracked their expenses, they reviewed their goals each week, they invested the same amount at the same time, in the same vehicles, no fireworks, just fundamentals. And the results were extraordinary, not overnight, but over time. Broke minds chase excitement because they're addicted to emotional highs. They say, budgeting is boring. Well, so is being broke. They say, saving money isn't fun. Neither is watching your life fall apart because you didn't prepare. You see, excellence isn't thrilling. It's thoughtful, it's disciplined, it's quiet, and it always pays off. Start loving the boring stuff. Make a date with your finances every Sunday night. Look at your numbers, track your progress, review your vision, check your investments, save a little more, adjust a little better. Those little tweaks will outperform 90% of the market if done consistently. Because success is not one big decision, it's 1,000 small ones done right. Fall in love with repetition and wealth will fall in love with you. One of the fastest ways to change your financial life is to change the way you talk about money. Language isn't just communication, it's identity in motion. And I've noticed that the wealthy speak in a completely different language than the 97%. Most people talk about their income. I make this much per month, or I got a raise, or I need a higher salary. But let me tell you something. Income is for survival. Assets are for freedom. And until you start speaking in terms of equity, ownership, and net worth, you'll always think like a laborer instead of an investor. Years ago, I was having dinner with a man who was worth millions. Not once did he mention his income. He talked about assets, real estate, dividends, royalties, equity stakes in businesses. He didn't have to be somewhere Monday at 9 a.m. because his money was working while he slept. And that's when I understood if you keep talking like an employee, you'll keep living like one. But when you start thinking and speaking like an owner, everything changes. Start asking yourself, what do I own that pays me? not just what do I do that pays me. The moment you start building assets, things that work even when you don't, you start building leverage. And leverage is how the wealthy multiply results with less effort over time. You don't need to be rich to begin the shift. Start small. Buy a few shares of stock. Invest in a book that teaches real estate. Build a digital product. Partner in a side business. Every asset starts as an idea spoken into motion. But it requires you to speak differently first. Don't say, I can't afford assets. Say, how can I start building them? That's how you shift your reality. Speak in terms of ownership and you'll start walking the road to financial freedom. One of the things that separates the wealthy from everyone else isn't a higher IQ or even better luck, it's emotional control, especially when it comes to money. Wealthy people understand something most never do. Emotion is expensive, very expensive. A single emotional decision, whether it's a purchase, a business move, or even an investment, can cost you years of progress. That's why the wealthy set rules and follow them. They build systems that protect them from their feelings. Let me give you an example. Years ago, I started using what I called a 24-hour rule. If I wanted to buy something outside of necessity, especially something emotional like a gadget or a luxury item, I'd wait 24 hours. And I can tell you 9 times out of 10 the desire faded, but when I did buy something after 24 hours and it still made sense, it was usually a wise decision. That delay is what gave me control. Not over money, but over myself. And that's the difference. The 97% shop their moods, they spend to feel better, they buy things to fix what's internal with something external and it never works. You can't solve a character issue with a credit card. Wealthy people don't shop for emotional comfort. They fund their future. They save with purpose. They invest by principle. And they don't let how they feel determine how they act. I knew a man once who automated his financial life so precisely, he didn't have to decide each month how much to save or invest. It was already decided. 10% to savings, 15% to investments, 5% to learning. He removed emotion from the equation by putting systems in place. That's not cold, that's wise. Because discipline builds wealth. Emotion without discipline destroys it. So if you want to be wealthy, build rules, stick to them. Let your money serve a mission, not your moods. That's how the wealthy think and how they stay that way. When I started asking myself one simple question before every purchase, everything changed. Is this pulling me closer to or further from financial freedom? Not just, can I afford it? But, should I afford it? Because there's a world of difference between spending money and investing it. One gives you a moment, the other gives you a future. You see, most people don't spend with outcomes in mind. They spend with emotion, with impulse. They hand over money without realizing they're handing over potential. I learned early on that wealth isn't about being cheap, it's about being conscious. Conscious of where every dollar goes. Conscious of what every expense represents. You're not just buying a coffee or another pair of shoes, you're buying a delay in your future freedom, or perhaps you're exchanging it for peace of mind. The key is knowing the difference. I remember one young man who asked me how to build wealth on a modest income. I told him, start by tracking every single dollar. Not to punish yourself, but to understand yourself. He started carrying a small notebook, writing down each expense, and after 30 days, he came back stunned. Not because he was overspending, but because he finally saw what he was spending on, and more importantly, what it was costing him in long-term opportunity. That's awareness. That's financial consciousness. And that's where wealth begins. Wealthy people aren't more frugal, they're more intentional. They connect today's behavior to tomorrow's result. They know that $5 spent unconsciously every day doesn't just cost $5 sit. Costs compound growth, investment opportunity, and freedom. It's not about deprivation, it's about decision. Every dollar is a vote for the future you're building. Ask the question often. Make it a habit. Because the moment you tie every expense to a future outcome, you no longer just spend, you choose. And that, right there, is how wealth begins. I once heard someone say, "It's just $5. And I thought to myself, no, it's not just $5. It's the way you think about $5 that tells the story of why you don't have 5,000. You see, wealth doesn't start when you have a lot of money. It starts when you learn to treat a little money with a lot of respect. Because the habit you form with $10 is the same habit that will follow you when you have 10,000. Money magnifies behavior. If you waste small amounts, you'll waste larger amounts just on bigger toys. I remember when I was broke, I'd still take $1 seriously. I tracked it. I honored it. I asked, can I put this dollar to work? That attitude changed everything. Most people are waiting for a breakthrough, for a windfall, for a promotion thinking, then they'll get serious. But the truth is, if you're sloppy with pennies, you'll be careless with paychecks. It's not about how much, it's about how you handle what you've got. Think of a farmer. If he neglects one seed, saying it's just one, he'll likely treat the whole harvest the same. But the farmer who respects a single seed knows it holds potential. A single dollar has the same power. It's the seed of discipline, of stewardship, of wealth. And if you prove faithful with little, you prepare yourself to be trusted with more. The wealthy don't step over coins. They don't dismiss loose change. Not because they need it, but because it represents a principle, respect. They budget the small expenses. They track the small leaks. They save on the small purchases, not out of scarcity, but out of philosophy. How you do anything is how you do everything. That's not just about money, it's about character. And character is what wealth responds to. So if you want to attract more, start where you are. Respect the dollar in your hand as if it were 1,000. Because the truth is, if you can't manage a little with excellence, you won't manage a lot with wisdom. Most people want wealth to come quick, fast profits, overnight success, lottery wins. But the truly wealthy don't think in weekends. They think in decades. They don't ask, how fast can I double my money? They ask, how long can I let it grow? That's a shift in mindset, and it's one of the biggest reasons the 3% rise while the 97% spin their wheels. The difference isn't intelligence. It's time and how they partner with it. When I was just getting started, someone introduced me to the concept of compound interest. At first, it didn't excite me. The numbers looked too small. But then I learned that time is the most powerful multiplier. $1 invested steadily over years becomes a river of returns, not because you work harder, but because time works with you. And once I saw that, I stopped chasing fast money and started building slow wealth. You see, wealth doesn't rush, it compounds. Here's the real secret. Time rewards consistency, not chaos. It punishes the impatient and blesses the steady. That's why the person who starts saving in their 20s with small amounts often outpaces the person who waits until their 40s with larger contributions. Time is the ultimate business partner, but only if you respect it. If you wait too long to invest, time walks away. But if you start early and stay committed, time will work longer hours than you ever could. The wealthy don't touch their seed too early. They understand harvest takes time. They plant, they water, they wait. They don't cash out investments at the first downturn or abandon discipline when it gets boring. They let their money do what it was made to do, grow. The 97% interrupt compounding. The 3% protect it like gold. So if you want to build something meaningful, make time your ally. Don't just think in pay periods, think in decades. Don't just save invest with patience, because time doesn't just pass, it multiplies. And when you give it room to breathe, it can turn a small effort into a massive legacy. That's not luck, that's wisdom. When I first started speaking, I thought the goal was to work hard enough to get paid. But what I learned very quickly was that money doesn't respond to sweat, it responds to value. You see, the market doesn't pay you for time spent. It pays you for the value you bring to that time. It's not the hours you put in, it's what you put into the hours. That shift changed everything for me. I began to ask a new question, not, how can I earn more, but how can I serve more? And that became the foundation for everything that came after. Every dollar you earn is just a certificate of appreciation for the value you delivered. And the more useful you become, the more abundant those certificates become. The 97% think in terms of work harder. The 3% think in terms of work wiser, serve deeper, solve better. If you're only chasing dollars, you'll burn out. But if you chase excellence, if you wake up asking, how can I become more valuable to the marketplace today? Your income will start to reflect that value. Maybe not instantly, but inevitably. A farmer doesn't make money by demanding crops. He makes money by tilling the soil, planting the seeds, watering consistently, and protecting the harvest. And when harvest comes, value is what fills the barn. The same is true in business. The more you improve your skills, sharpen your thinking, serve your audience, solve real problems, the more your income expands to match your contribution. I've seen people double their income without changing jobs simply because they doubled their value. They got better at communicating, better at solving problems, better at leading people, better at showing up. And suddenly the market noticed. So the next time you see a paycheck, don't just ask if it's enough. Ask if it matches the value you've delivered. If it doesn't, don't complain. Improve. Become the kind of person whose service is too valuable to ignore. Because in the end, money isn't chased. It's attracted. And it's attracted to usefulness. When I was a young man trying to figure out how to build a better life, I thought the key was working more hours. I figured if I could just squeeze in another shift, another weekend, I'd get ahead. But after enough exhaustion and enough months where the money still didn't stretch, I learned one of the most powerful lessons about wealth. The secret isn't in labor, it's in leverage. Most people were taught to trade time for money. They show up, they clock in, they put in the hours, and at the end of the week, they hope the paycheck is enough to survive. But here's the problem. There are only so many hours in the day. Even if you work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you still hit a ceiling. But the wealthy, they build something different. They build systems that work when they sleep. They build teams that multiply their results. They invest in assets that generate returns, whether they're on vacation or not. That's the power of leverage. It's asking, how can I create value once and let it serve me 100 times? Maybe it's writing a book, developing a product, investing in rental property, building a team that can grow a business without your constant presence. You don't need to be in the room for value to be created. That's wealth thinking. I remember when I made my first small investment. It wasn't big, but the moment I saw it grow without me lifting a finger, something clicked. I thought, this is what the wealthy understand. It's not about working more, it's about working smarter. It's about multiplying effort, not just adding effort. Even in your job, you can start shifting your mindset. Don't just be an employee, but builder. Build processes, build systems, train others, invest in ideas, and on the side, start building something that lives beyond your labor. The road to freedom isn't paved with long hours. It's paved with smart leverage. Because wealth isn't the reward for how hard you work. It's the reward for how well you multiply. In my years of experience, one thing has become crystal clear. Attention is the currency of achievement. You can have all the skills, knowledge, and resources in the world, but if your mind is scattered, if your focus is constantly pulled in every direction, wealth will slip through your fingers like sand. Those who never seem to get ahead are often victims of distraction, bombarded by endless noise, drama, and conflicting advice. I remember early in my career, I was eager to learn everything, news, trends, opinions, but quickly realized that not all information is created equal. Some of it was clutter, some of it was fear-mongering, and much of it wasted my precious time and mental energy. That's when I made a conscious decision to protect my attention like the treasure it is. I began to curate my environment and what I let into my mind. The wealthy understand that their mental energy is finite and precious. They don't waste it on gossip, on sensational headlines, or on endless scrolling through social media. Instead, they focus on what moves the needle. Ideas that inspire growth, plans that create momentum, lessons that sharpen their edge. They guard their time for learning, reflection, and meaningful action. This isn't about avoidance, it's about choice. When you stop giving your attention to distractions, your mind becomes clear and your focus sharpens. You start seeing opportunities that others miss, thinking solutions when others feel stuck. Your financial mindset transforms because your mental inputs feed your outputs. Think of your attention as your greatest investment. Where you spend it today will determine your financial harvest tomorrow. So, ask yourself, what is demanding your focus? Is it helping you build wealth, or is it draining your potential? The choice is yours. Protect your attention, invest it wisely, and watch your life transform. Because in the economy of success, attention is the ultimate asset. Guard it fiercely. I've learned over time that the secret to lasting wealth isn't about chasing the next big thing or waiting for bursts of motivation. Motivation is fleeting. It's like a flame that flares up and dies down, leaving you cold and searching for more. What really makes the difference are the habits you build, the routines you commit to day after day, rain or shine. When I first started on my path, I noticed how many people get caught up in those flashy, get-rich-quick ideas. The overnight success stories, the sudden rushes of enthusiasm. But those are like fireworks. Brilliant for a moment, then gone. Real wealth comes from steady, consistent action. It's the small, seemingly boring disciplines done repeatedly that create a foundation strong enough to hold great success. In my own life, I committed to daily rituals reading to expand my mind, reviewing my goals to stay on track, managing my money carefully and consistently. These weren't exciting moments, but they were sacred. I realized that discipline was my true ally. While others waited for motivation to strike, I built a system that carried me forward no matter what. Structure became my security. Dopamine, that quick hit of pleasure from novelty or excitement, can be a distraction. It tempts you to jump from one thing to another, never settling, never building momentum. But rituals, those, deliberate, repeated, actions shape your character and your outcomes. They program your brain to focus, to persevere, and to grow steadily. So don't wait for the perfect mood or the perfect day to start building wealth. Create habits that outlast hype. Develop a rhythm of discipline that propels you forward, even when motivation wanes. Because when you build habits, you build a life and wealth that no temporary thrill can ever take away. Consistency beats chaos every time. It's easy to think that saying no to skipping that impulse buy, to holding off on a quick pleasure is some kind of punishment. We tend to see delayed gratification as sacrifice, as giving something up. But the truth is, when you shift your mindset, delay becomes one of your most powerful tools for creating wealth. It's not about missing out, it's about making a smarter choice today so you can enjoy a greater reward tomorrow. When I first began my journey, I quickly realized that every no I said to a fleeting urge was a yes to a more secure future. That small moment of discipline of choosing to save instead of spend, choosing to invest time in learning instead of instant entertainment became the leverage I needed to build momentum. It's like planting seeds. You don't eat the fruit on the day you plant the tree. You water it, nurture it, and wait patiently for it to bear fruit. And when it does, the payoff is far sweeter. Too many people live by immediate gratification. They want the reward now, so they spend recklessly, borrow carelessly, or give in to impulses. But this mindset traps you in a cycle of scarcity. The wealthy, however, look at delay as strategon, intentional choice to build something bigger. They understand that true wealth isn't built in a day. It's built over time with patience and persistence. This ability to master your urges, to delay the easy pleasure for long-term gain, is one of the greatest differentiators between those who struggle financially and those who succeed. It's not about deprivation, it's about vision. When you can say no today to the distractions and temptations, you say yes to the freedom, security, and abundance of tomorrow. Master your urges, and you master your results. The power to delay is the power to transform your life. When you begin to see money not as the end goal, but as a means to something greater, your entire relationship with wealth transforms. The wealthy don't chase dollars just for the sake of dollars. They chase the freedom, the options, and the impact that money can provide. This clarity of purpose shapes every financial decision they make, guiding them toward investments, habits, and opportunities that align with their vision. Early in my life, I learned that money without direction is like a ship. Without a rudder, it drifts, wastes fuel, and often ends up where you never intended. I remember a time when I thought having money was the ultimate prize. I was focused solely on the numbers, the paycheck, the balance in the bank. But then I realized that without a deeper why, that money lost meaning. It became easy to squander, easy to chase after more without satisfaction. Once I began to connect money with a clear vision to provide for my family, to create opportunities for others, to have the freedom to live on my own terms, everything changed. Money stopped being the master, and it became the servant. I made decisions rooted in purpose rather than impulse, and suddenly my financial path was not just about accumulation, but about meaningful growth. If you don't get clear on why you want wealth, money will either be wasted on fleeting pleasures or worshipped as an end in itself. But when your vision is strong, money becomes a tool that builds bridges to your dreams and leaves a legacy. You'll find yourself making smarter choices, saying no to distractions, and investing where it truly counts. Create a vision that money serves, and you give yourself a compass for success. Without that vision, wealth is directionless and fragile. But with it, money works for you and your life transforms. As we come to the close of this journey together, it's essential to remember that the path to wealth is not paved with luck or fleeting opportunities. It is crafted in the daily decisions you make, the mindset you cultivate, and the vision you hold. Wealth is not simply about numbers in a bank account. It is about freedom, purpose, and the ability to live life on your own terms. What separates those who accumulate lasting wealth from those who struggle is not their circumstance, but their way of thinking and acting. Too often, people wait for the right moment, the perfect plan, or the big break. But the truth is, the right moment is now. The perfect plan is the one you start building today, and the big break comes to those who prepare diligently while others hesitate. You don't become wealthy by chance. You become wealthy by choice. It begins with training your mind to think like the wealthy, not just in words, but in habits, discipline, and vision. Start by embracing the small, often boring habits that build the foundation of financial freedom. Budgeting weekly, saving consistently, investing wisely, and educating yourself relentlessly. Learn to speak the language of assets and value. Stop making decisions based on emotions or fleeting impulses. Instead, develop a strategy, set rules, and stick to them with discipline and patience. Surround yourself with people who uplift your thinking, who challenge you to grow and expand your horizons. Protect your attention like it's your most valuable asset, because what you focus on expands. Avoid distractions and negativity that drain your mental energy. Invest that time and focus into personal growth, learning, and planning for the future you desire. Remember, wealth is not about chasing money. It is about becoming the kind of person money is drawn to. It's about creating value, leveraging your time and resources, and living with purpose. Your mindset determines your trajectory. Change your thinking, and you change your life. Now is the time to act. Take responsibility for your financial future. Write down your goals clearly. Visualize the life you want. Make a plan and commit to it every day. Don't settle for the average life that the majority accept. Push beyond comfort. Face your fears and embrace the discipline necessary for transformation. Wealth is available to you, but only if you are willing to transform your mind, your habits, and your environment. Choose today to step into that mindset of abundance, responsibility, and growth. The journey won't always be easy, but it will be worth it. So, I challenge you, start right now. Begin with one small step. Review your spending. Read a book on personal finance. Find a mentor, or simply change the words you say to yourself about money. These small actions compound into great results. The life you want is waiting. Train your mind, change your thinking, and watch how your world transforms. The power is in your hands now. Go make it happen.